Sometimes I wish we could go back to a time when things weren't so complicated.
Welcome to the complexity of toilet paper, the podcast that dives into the everyday moments where we overthink, hesitate, or just get stuck.
I'm overthinking. I'm overthinking.
Let's hear it for the toilet paper!
Through honest conversations, unexpected insights, and a whole lot of humor, your hosts Phyllis Martin, Mark Pollock, and Al Emmerich are here to help you roll with it and make your life a little less complicated. One conversation at a time.
That's right, dude. The beauty of this is its simplicity.
Speaking of which, it's time to enter the stall. Put the lid down, or not, depending. Get comfortable, and roll with it.
Oh, worry not, dear friend. It's really quite simple.
This is the complexity of toilet paper.
All day for some salmon.
You've been waiting all day for salmon? Why?
I know I'm having that for dinner, so I'm still waiting.
What's more important, salmon or this show?
Don't make me choose. You know how much I like
that
to
means
eat.
it's salmon, and I don't know how I feel about that.
And this is what happens before we actually open the mic, but the mic was actually hot, and we caught Phyllis in mid-thought. Ooh, I made a rhyme, and I didn't even mean to this time.
Here we go.
No, seriously, I didn't. And Phyllis didn't even know that the mic was open. Hi, welcome to the complexity of what Phyllis is having for dinner tonight.
Well, we know what she's having for dinner tonight. It's salmon. And
Now, by the time this show airs, she will have had the salmon, and none of us are going to remember to come back and tell you if the salmon was good. But I can tell you, we've hung enough with Phyllis Martin, and there ain't a bad meal within 20 miles of her.
Nothing bad coming out of that kitchen.
And it doesn't hurt that you live in a city where the food is just amazing.
Correct.
Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes, sirree.
Did I just piss off everybody from Charleston with that terrible accent?
Everybody's happy. We all make fun of it.
Oh, good. Good.
But some accents in Charleston and in South Carolina in general are creamy and mellifluous, like they're smooth and very, I used a big word.
Well, hold on.
I hesitated to
Mark,
use it, but I did.
Phyllis is our partner, but I may need to excuse myself because I don't know what that word is, and I want to A, look it up, and B, it's kind of sexy. Creamy and mellifluous, is that it?
Mellifluous, they're smooth, and they just kind of, the accent just kind of flows very easily, and I love listening to people in South Carolina who have that accent.
I so want to figure out a way to use that word. I don't know that I can say it.
Mellifluous.
I just realized a bonus for this show. I swear I think my IQ bumps a notch every time I hang with you guys because I either learn a new word from Phyllis, an amazing idea drops, or Mark, you consolidate life in such a clear, clean way that everything makes sense. You are like, you know what you are, Mark? This is it. Mark is the line. I don't know what you call it. There's probably a math term for it. I know there is a math term. You're the line at the end of an equation right before you give the answer. What is that called? Right? Anybody know?
Phyllis has all the words. I don't know.
Phyllis does not know that word. But the definition of mellifluous is, and I'm so on point, sweet or musical, pleasant to hear. An example, the voice was mellifluous and smooth.
Wow. Man, and you even said that smoothly.
I did.
I know.
And for all of my former English teachers, so noted.
Hey, speaking of Charleston, if you've ever been to Charleston, back to the conversation about food, it is a foodie mecca. And I remember the first time I went there and looking at the restaurants and making a choice was like, how the hell was that going to happen? I mean, we had kids with us, so that kind of, negated some of the places we were going to go. But anyway, all three of us, everybody, Mark, Phyllis, and I, at some point have had this conversation about choice. And we started talking about it. And we were like, well, have you ever tried to make that decision on a restaurant or what you want to eat or whatever? And we were like, let's not talk about this yet. Let's just talk about it over a show in the stall. And that is what we are doing today. And we found out that there's this actual thing called decision regret. And it's kind of this evil wraparound to, I can't make up my mind. And so this is what this show is about. If you've ever skimmed Netflix late at night, if you've ever gone to the library, yes, they still have them, last I heard. If you've ever tried to make a decision, if you've stood in line at, Burger King, McDonald's, and you're like, why am I taking 20 minutes to do this and it hasn't changed in the last 40 years? Welcome to the complexity of toilet paper. And we are here to uncouple the things that we can't figure out, at least in a small way, and help make your life a little bit easier, one conversation at a time. And so let's dive into this thing. Phyllis, you put together kind of like some framework for this stuff. Why don't you lead us off here?
Well, Al, you got us off to a really, really good start, because I swear I think it's happened to every person, sitting in the pocket of how there are just everyday things that we overcomplicate. And I can, tell you for my husband, Tim, and me, the simplest thing, like picking a restaurant on a Friday or Saturday night, or as you said, if we're in a new town and we haven't made reservations somewhere, every single time turns into this overthought, overblown process where just one more, until, it could be like 8:30 at night and we still haven't found anywhere to eat. Now, people who know me know I get hangry if I don't eat by 7 o'clock. So if we pass the 7 o'clock time, there's going to be a situation.
It's decision or death.
It's decision or death. And I do wonder why. Why is that so hard? Why can we just not pick a restaurant and be okay?
So before we even unpack that, talk through your decision matrix. How does it break down for you? So you're like, oh, hey, we're in this town. Do you decide, let's talk about food. All right. Restaurants. Are you like, hey, what do you want to have tonight? Or do you or Tim or people you're with usually have let's do seafood? Or how do you even start making your decision?
I think sadly there's no parameter on it. So without the parameter of seafood or an ethnicity, the world is one's oyster. And if you haven't taken the time to make reservations ahead of time, it becomes even more complicated. And so there's really, the matrix becomes, we're walking, looking at a menu. Okay, move on to the next one. Walking, looking at a menu. Okay, move on to the next one, until inevitably some form of, oh my God, just pick a restaurant. And then sometimes it's back for restaurants. And by the time we get there, it's, well, we can seat you at 9 o'clock. And then you just look at each other and you end up going to, the convenience store and getting some popcorn and chips because you've missed the whole entire thing.
As long as you don't end up choosing the Cheesecake Factory, because then you have 77 pages of menu that you got to decide from. So, hopefully you're trying to choose from a restaurant that's got one page.
You know where this started, right? It's all Baskin Robbins' fault.
Oh, the 32 flavors?
Well, they were 31. Did they bump to 32 now?
Oh, I don't know. They're probably 30. They're probably 60 some odd at this point.
I'm kind of joking, but I would be curious to know. It's well. So what are the precursors to all of this? You've got buffets, right? Mm-hmm. When you had all these choices at a buffet, did the same thing happen?
I think Phil? You just nailed it on the head. I think the precursor is, back in the day, there were so fewer choices. It might have been one of 5 choices. So you just
TV channels,
TV channels.
Movies.
Movie choices. You had what? ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS.
and you had the TV guide that came out every week, and those were your choices.
Which was like as thin. It was so thin. It was like a couple of pages long, and most of it was advertising. And of course, you had to. This is like you had to actually get up and go turn. But that notwithstanding, you're right. Choices.
Yeah, but even now we have more choices on demand, and we still can't make a choice. So, but back then you had to pick a show, and if you ended up picking one and then you didn't like it, you missed out on the other ones, right? Because they're broadcasting at the same time. Now everything's recorded. You have access to everything whenever you want, and you still get decision regret when you're halfway through a movie.
Do you remember when HBO first came out? They actually, I could be wrong, and if there's an HBO executive or some former employee in programming listening, let me know, and I'm sorry. But I remember when HBO came out, they wouldn't replay that same show for a long time. But then I remember at some point they would do a show, they would repeat it periodically, right? Because I guess there was demand or something like that. It was like, if you missed it at 8:00, you missed it at 8:00 and you weren't going to see it for days later.
So you would think decision regret then would have been worse because you couldn't get it on demand, or you knew you would have to wait until like the reruns in the off season to see it. But I really feel like overthinking the decision and the regret or fear of making the wrong decision or missing out is more prevalent now. Even like if you think about how often, how frequently, or how freely we go out to eat. So even if you make a decision and you're not thrilled with the restaurant, the reality is, like when I grew up, we hardly ever went out to eat. That was a rarity that we went out to eat. Now everybody goes out to eat all the time, so you can, pick it up next time.
You know how much thought so we had a team meeting here at my house a couple of weeks ago, and I had to choose where we all went out to dinner. There's not a lot of choices here. I mean, there's a good amount of choices. But do you know how long I thought about where to take you guys?
I do.
And then when we went, I was like, oh.
What were you thinking about? Like, what was, like, don't worry about the length.
Would you be disappointed? Would the wait times be too long? Would you like it as much as I like this restaurant? Would you find anything on the menu that you're going to like? Is there a better place that's less noisy that we could go to?
So the place we went to, what was it called?
The Salty Pelican.
The Salty Pelican. Had a great time. It was
amazing
awesome.
food.
Delicious.
Great time.
And Phyllis and I were both like, yeah, okay. Now I have to be honest. I was like, I've kind of been there before, but I wanted to go because you wanted to go so badly. And so is that why you made that choice ultimately? Because it was just like, it's your kind of favorite place?
I love that place, right? And the owners are fantastic people. And so I enjoy it. Their food's always good. And so
it was delicious.
I just thought, well, I can't go wrong with this one. But I really still had to give it thought of like, oh, would this be the right place for us?
But isn't that the other side of the decision story? It's like there's a number of times, like there's a coffee shop in Jacksonville, Florida, called Southern Grounds. I love Southern Grounds, right? Now there's a bunch of other great ones too, and I can't call them all out, right? But I'll talk, Mark, shouting out to you, buddy. He's the owner of Southern Grounds. Anyway, sometimes I'll be like, oh, I should mix it up, but I go back to what's familiar. And I liken that to my Netflix, right? I'll be in the middle of a show, and I don't have a whole lot of time to watch a lot of shows. Right now, and by the time this airs, it'll still be around. I'm watching this sci-fi show called Foundations. And I'll step away for a while. Well, the other day, I was like, oh, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to give myself something new. But I didn't know what I wanted, and so I surfed. And so for me, I think that so much of this decision confusion and this decision complexity is also rooted in we just haven't said this is what I want right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Now, I will tell you, I use value mapping a lot, specifically the value equation, to actually help people in businesses with that. Like businesses that are trying to decide on a strategy, when they can't say, oh, well, this is the range to go, we'll say, hey, well, what's the word that most clearly defines what you want to get to at your end of your goal? Why did you choose that? What's the impact? That's the value equation. Word, why, impact. Well, that gets the data out in front of them because they have to be forced to make a decision. But at the end of the day, the only reason they get there is because they made a choice. How often do we actually sit there and go, all right, Phyllis, we're going out to dinner. Let's decide before we even start searching what we want.
I'm sure rarely, but it comes back to an article I wrote a little while ago on LinkedIn around the number of decisions that we make in a day. And I really think too, it also comes down to decision fatigue. You're so tired by the time you're even thinking about where to go out to dinner that if you've not made that decision. So Phyllis, you gave a perfect example. You and your friends are walking down the street. There's 10 restaurants in a row and you go look in at the menus. Prior to, let's say that's 6 o'clock. Prior to 6 o'clock in the evening, when you're walking down that street, you've made 7,000 decisions that day on everything from what you're going to wear to what you've eaten for lunch to who you're going to call to conversate, like all of this stuff. So by the time you get there, you're just exhausted from making decisions. I think that's got to play into it.
I think so too, Mark. And I'm sorry, were you going to say more?
No, go ahead.
I felt like your mouth was continuing to move.
Sometimes it does that. It just doesn't stop moving.
He's a puppet. Mark actually has a little. You never saw the little man that runs him.
Yeah.
It's Mark, folks. If you didn't realize it, Mark Pollock is actually a puppet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Al, you just said something. Like I might give you a mic drop on it. I don't know. Maybe we'll see if Mark comes sliding in at the end and takes it away. It is now a competition game on. But
we'll see.
I don't know.
But I think what I heard you
nuts.
say is do we clearly state what we want? And I know for me, when I'm in a group and we walk by a menu, I bet anything, if I just clearly stated, gang, this looks like a great restaurant. Let me tell you why. I think we should, I want to eat here. I bet everybody would say, okay, let's eat here. Or maybe okay, can we check out one more menu? Yes. And then we'll make a decision between the two. Versus I think what we all do, which is, I don't know, maybe okay, we'll do or the opposite is true, Mark, to what you're saying. If one is just tired, as we all can be from making so many decisions, then it's okay to say whatever you pick is going to be fine. I'm going to be happy and grateful that you picked it, and we're going to go from there.
Well, I think it comes down to food. It comes down to movies. The other night, my daughter and I are sitting and we're flipping through, the 900 movies type companies. There's the Netflix and the Tubi and the Paramount Plus and the, all these things, right? And so we're trying to pick a movie. Literally spent, no hyperbole, an hour flipping through movies and TV shows. So much so, we both just turned off the television. We're like, nah, we're just going to go to bed. We didn't watch anything. We watched nothing.
Yep.
And something about you, Mark, and all three of us. This is truly all three of us. This may be the first mic drop. I'm calling it. All three of us are pleasers.
Yeah.
I know we have done it ourselves. We've had talks we've had talks about the production of the show, about, hey, listen, we can't always say yes. We need to be able to say no. So, all right. So that aside, we are pleasers. I know that if I'm with a group of people, this is an oxymoron. I think that's the right word, because it's like you can't have both. I hate it when we could do this, but if you want to do this or this, and just do something. But then I'm the first person to say, well, if that's okay with you, Mark, if that's okay with you, Phyllis. And it's they feed off of each other. And so I think when you really want to please people, it also makes it difficult to make a decision.
I'd agree. I think it comes back to your conversation earlier too. If you knew, let's say you're out with friends and your friends love seafood, right? Do some planning and be like, hey, I know you guys love seafood. There's a really great seafood restaurant this is where I think we should go tonight. But we don't.
So there's some real science behind this, and I'm just going to throw these out for consumption, but also, so if you're listening to this and you're going, yeah, that's me. I mean, it has to be you. I know a few people. I have a really good friend of mine that, I mean, he usually is pretty much like, boom, cut, eat, we're done. But very few people are. So there's some thoughts here, and then I'd love to move it to life, because we're talking about Netflix and movies and all that, but there's real life implications here. Okay, so first of all, decision regret is a thing. And there's an entire field around it that examines literally how regret serves as a feedback mechanism that can slow you or go you. And so some of the key aspects of this, there's a term called counterfactual thinking. It's the ability to actually stimulate what could have been by comparing decisions to outcomes to alternate possibilities. That's what we're talking about. You're sitting here going, oh, well, if I did this could do this. In the business world, it's opportunity cost. If I do this, what's the cost of this? And you're playing this out in your mind. There's anticipated regret. Oh my God. The preemptive fear of future regret. If I that goes on in colleges. Our students go through that. Yeah. You know, your son and your daughter's going to be going through it, Mark. There's actually regret aversion. So somebody doesn't want to actually have to deal with regret, so they don't make a decision whatsoever. And then lastly, well, not lastly, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The way this shows up is in decision making, you either learn and adapt, or you continuously stick in that loop and you begin to evolve this if only thinking. And the regret can literally lead to massive depression because you're leading your life in this regret phase. And sure, we're talking about Netflix and these things, but they're actually, according to what we were reading, and we need to bring an expert on about this. Let's what did you call it, Mark? We're going to bring in the couch? No. The couch? No. What did you call it?
I think it's the couch.
Oh, I think
the
it's
bench?
the couch.
We're bringing people in.
The potty couch. Whatever.
Multiple stalls. I don't remember.
Multiple stalls. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll have multiple stalls going because we've got to really talk to an expert. But now let's talk about real life stuff. What is something that you really hem and haw over or have that's related either to the business or your personal life where you kind of had some of those things going on?
I've had it show up in buying a car. I don't know if our listeners experienced that, but, I did a lot of research. I felt really good about, these different cars. I went and test drove, and even feeling really good about the decision that I made, I still had but it, I could have, maybe I should have, I still had those kind of regret tinges of maybe I should have done something different. And that was even with research and feeling good about it at the time. So that's an example of a real life big purchase. And maybe it's just big purchases. I don't know, but.
Well, I think it shows up in career choices too, when you're interviewing or have interviewed for a particular position, and maybe there's a second one right behind, and you have this, or there's the reality of, do I leave what I know for this thing that I think is going to be better? And I think it's probably fair to say I'll say it for myself, but I'm imagining for our listeners as well, you've made a career change or you've jumped ship and gone to somewhere else, and you do regret it. And not all of it, but some of it. And there's a longing for what was. So maybe it's not as perfect as you thought it was going to be. And that's real. I think the trick about that, or the something to consider is it's okay, because two things can be true at the same time. You can make the decision and maybe you have some level of regret, and perhaps you can also find some joy and happiness in the decision that you made. And so I think even as something as simple as picking a dinner choice, and then you get there and maybe it's not all that you thought it would be, it was still good, and is good enough sometimes okay. And sometimes I think it's just perspective and perception. And some of that's just on us, quite honestly. There's the fear
Oh,
of the
man.
regret, but then there's actual, okay, how am I going to, like, can you flip the lens a little bit and find the good?
So you brought up the job piece and that people, jump ship and go somewhere else. I've seen this, and Phyllis and Al, I'm curious if you've seen this, like on LinkedIn, I'll see people go back to former employers. Like they'll go and they'll do this thing, then they go back. And I'm wondering, you brought in a good point too, Phyllis, around feeling good about your decision or finding good in your decision. What is a tip, do you think, that someone, just in that, I know we'll get to tips later, but I think that's a really big piece. I'd love to sit on that for a second. How could somebody do that? How could someone find joy in that, or not have the regret?
I think this is really true. I feel like sometimes what we like regret is a judgment in a particular way. And I think we do this with a lot of I do it in a lot of aspects of life, and maybe our listeners do that too. Instead, like a tip is, can you be curious about it? Can you ask it questions? Can you ask questions of yourself to start to figure out, because there's definitely a why behind it. And can you look at those questions and the answers that really only you can provide as information? And what is that information then telling you? Because I think that's part of the pathway to, I don't want to say acceptance, that's not what I'm trying to say, but to gratitude, to joy, to being happy, while understanding, sure, maybe I gave up this, but what did I get? Because I got something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say sometimes you make a decision and it really turns out to be not what you thought it was going to be. But even in that, I have come to learn that's the only way to learn. And that's where the growth happens. And so I try now to look at things through that lens. What did I learn that I can take with me for the rest of my journey? Because something's happening.
I love that.
I made the decision and I can trust myself.
There is actually a decision regret scale. It's used. It measures distress or remorse after a healthcare decision, and it's incredibly clarifying. It's a 5-point Likert scale, and the questions are there's like 5 questions. I'm not an expert in this. Okay, so this is like Google search and some Chat GPT.
But you did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once.
I did.
So,
I did.
There you go.
I did. It was the right decision. These are all strongly agree, neither agree or disagree, or strongly disagree. It was the right decision. I regret the choice that was made. I would go for the same choice if I had to do it over again. The choice did me a lot of harm. The decision was a wise one. I listen to that, and it's so simple. I would love to go back and apply that to some of the things where I have sat and had this. See, I wanted to go. You got to a tip, but I wanted to step back for a moment. And Phyllis, if you need me to, I'll pause because I'll remember what I was going to bring up. But when you were talking about the decisions, I was thinking about something I struggled with for many, many years when I had my production business, and even with value mapping, which was the product line decision. Right? There's the decision of this thing that I love to do, this thing that's supposed to drive revenue, this thing that's going to be scalable, all the things that, like, product decisions have a glue to them that if it's a retail product or something like that, sure, maybe the decision matrix is a little different. But when you're the product or you've created the product, it's kind of a different thing. And so I have literally gone through, and I never saw it this way, but I've literally gone through this similar type of wow, I could do this. Should I do this? Should I do this? And not done a thing, and not done any of them. Don't act on this. Don't sell this. Don't promote this. And it's hurt. It's been painful, both financially as well as pride-wise. Anyway, and And I just never saw the correlation, but it's exactly the same mechanism that's going on in the brain.
Yeah, it's
Fear.
paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a straight line.
Well, it's paralysis by analysis, all that, but it's just also raw frickin' fear.
That's what I'm saying. Fear is the driver to paralysis.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to say, Al, before you did that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but what I was going to say about, I forget what we were talking about, the tips or whatever. I was going to add, for real, I can say with truth in my heart, I accepted a position one time, and I say this to people to this day. It was the worst decision I ever made, but without making, and in many ways, many ways. However, I can't think of a time or a decision that I made where I learned so much about myself personally and where I grew so much professionally. And that drove me to where I am today, which also includes doing this podcast with you. And that's like the tip I'm trying to get out about decision regret. And the tip is, yes, you can have regret. I understand that, but there's learning in that regret.
Well, didn't you say once, or didn't you say some notes that you shared that it can either stall us, pardon the pun, or it can teach us?
Yeah.
But that's what you were saying before. It's the flip of the perspective. Mm-hmm. It's almost like manifesting, right? You have to make a choice. It's almost like we have to say, look, we're going to fumble with our choices. They're going to be wrong. But make the frickin' choice. Fast, imperfect decisions.
And I think we have to do it because there are so many decisions that we have to make. We have to train ourselves to make decisions faster and to live with the decision. They're never going to be perfect. And if we sit around and regret them, so I'm going on a vacation and I looked at many places to go, and it came down to you just got to pick one. And then you got to pick the elements of it. You can't just keep going back and researching more and thinking that you're going to have this perfect thing, because each decision that you make, it says that you're not choosing something else. And I think that FOMO, this made up fear that you're going to miss out on something else, is preventing you from making a decision in the moment that could be really great, or it could really suck. But until you make the decision and move forward and keep moving forward, you're going to keep thinking about, well, what did I miss out on? Oh, did I miss out on a better vacation, a better car, a better meal, a better movie, a better this? I'm spending my time here. I could have been spending my time there. I mean, it really comes down to, you really could think through every decision that way. But if you get to a point now, and you said it earlier, of knowing what you want, and you don't have to know it maybe 100%, but you got some really good idea of what you want, do some research. If it's a bigger thing, do a little bit more research and just make a decision and keep moving forward. Because I think that FOMO is really what drives so much of this, at least for me, in silly things like movies, but in more big financial decisions like buying a car.
Which brings us to what I think is the moment we should stop for a quick moment, because you guys need to do all these recap tips, but I think we should jump into the roll-up. Yes, this is the roll-up, unprompted, unscripted. We haven't talked about any of this, as we usually don't, but I think we should throw out a constraint for this roll-up. I think the roll-up has to be around decision-making.
Okay.
I think the
I'm
roll-up,
down for that.
Yeah, I think the roll-up should be around this wonderful thing that you've put together, decision regret. And so we will throw it around the horn with a question. I haven't even thought of one yet. So do you guys need a minute to think of your question?
Well, here's a question. Let me see if I can.
She's already got it.
Let me see if I can.
When she goes like that.
Let me see if I can formulate the question.
Okay.
When is there a time, and if so, when, that you have, I don't really think this is the question, but it's funny, so now I'm just going to say it. Yeah. How do you make the right decision when you're traveling and you know you have to go to the bathroom, but you think you can hold it maybe longer than you actually can hold it? So how do you make the decision that gets you where you need to be in enough time while continuing to make the progress you want to make while you're driving down the road? What's your decision matrix for that? Matrix men.
Okay, Neo.
I think I've stumped them. You can't see their faces, but I can.
Well, if I understand, we should get a squad shot right now. That's what we should do. We should, because I'm like really like.
We're going
He's
to put this in the show notes of our like
perplexed.
Let's see. I can't wait to see what that squad shot looks like. For those of you who don't know, squad shots are this thing that we're able to. Oh yeah, that was
a good one.
That was a good one. Squad shots are these things that enable us to be able to take a picture within the session. All right. Anywho.
Yeah. What's your decision?
Okay, so
you're driving down the road. You know you're going to have to go soon. You're going to have to make a decision.
So I'll just tell you. So I think I know what you're talking about. All right, I've driven across the country multiple times. Now I'm talking about as an adult, not as a kid when I didn't control. But I've driven across country minimum. I think 4 or 5 times. So, I know up front typically if I'm on a run and gun, and I will just bring a bottle, and I'll make sure I have toilet paper in the car.
I'm never ever driving cross country with you. Ever.
I'm
driving cross country, you're not in my car ever. I'll drive you to Phyllis's house, but that's the extent.
Now, most of the time, that's if it's a run and gun and I don't want to have to worry. That's just backup. But I will literally plan a trip based on restrooms because I can't stand going to public restrooms that are nasty. And so I will check Google reviews, I will do pictures, and I will plan out a trip based on whether, like, not plan a trip, excuse me, but I will map out my bathroom breaks.
Fair enough.
Is that what you meant?
Only going on road trips now where there's a Buc-ee's.
I was just going to say that.
No, there can be a Wawa, there can be a 7-Eleven.
I mean, Buc-ee's bathrooms are so clean, an attendant goes in the bathroom with you. It's really amazing. I mean,
and they're very private stalls, like they're rooms.
Very private.
Yeah.
It's cleaner than my house.
Mark, what
no,
about
it's
you?
not. We've been to your
Yeah,
house. Your house is nice.
All right, so I was giving Al a hard time, but I've got actually a funny story if you want to hear it. I was in Chicago on a business trip, and I had a rent-a-car. And I had to return the car in downtown Chicago. Well, the place that you return it did not have signage on the building. And my little app at the time, and this was many years ago, they were not as advanced, kept messing up what street I was supposed to be on because of the buildings were throwing off the navigation. And so I was basically circling downtown Chicago, sweating because I had to go to the bathroom so badly. That I decided I didn't know what to do. I ended up just double parking and running into this building and going to the bathroom. I left the car. I actually left the car on and everything. Like I was crying. I literally had tears running down my face because I had to go so bad and I did not have a bottle or anything to go in. And so I run into this place, double parked, go to the bathroom, run out. Thankfully, the car was still there.
Thank goodness.
And drove off. But that was yeah. I hope that answers your question, but it
was a great story.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
What about you, Phil?
Here's my travel plan. When Tim and I travel together, when we first were dating and then married, I came to learn that he's like a road warrior. So it was almost like put a catheter in, I'm not stopping. So over the course of time, I have learned to say, I am going to need to use a restroom in 30 minutes.
Oh.
I just trust that I'm going to need a restroom in 30 minutes, and then he can make some decisions about when he's driving. Because when I'm driving, he'll just say, pull over, I need to go to the bathroom. And I'm like,
Is that
okay.
what Finn was just doing for you
Yes.
by barking in the background
Yes.
saying, I want to go to the
Yes.
bathroom in 30 minutes? Hey, there he is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got a question. Here's a question. And we don't need the gory details, all right? But, well, you can if you want, but I don't know, whatever. Have you ever,
Yes.
is there ever a time where you regretted where you went and when you went to the bathroom in a public place?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. I was in, I think it was New Mexico, and we were driving, and there was like one bathroom somewhere within 100 miles of where we were, and it was not nice at all. Like it was bad. There was you go in, and there was like it was graffitied everywhere. It was just disgusting in every term that you could possibly think of. And there were no options, though. So coming down to decision regret, I didn't even have to make a decision. That was the only decision. And it still scars me.
Hmm.
Yeah. I would have been better off in a field. Mm-hmm.
Phil? Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, there was one time, there have been many times, don't get me wrong, but there was one time I really had to go. Had to go. And so I pulled in, I was with my friend Maureen, and I pulled into a Burger King, and it was really bad, but you do what you got to do. And when I came out, I was staying with her because I was moving back to Greenville and I was in transition. And she looked at me and she said, when you get to my house, you are to go right into the shower. I don't want you sitting down anywhere in my house.
She's hosing you off in the yard.
She essentially was like, I'm going to hose you down before you're allowed to touch anything. But you do the best you can do with what you have at the time. Now, the flip side is that decision regret. Yes. Has it made a good story for 20 years? Absolutely.
My decision regret goes back to a shaming that nobody meant to give me, but it was my bar mitzvah year, and
they meant to give it to you then.
Oh, they did. It was my bar mitzvah year, and this was the getting to the bar mitzvah. It was at my old temple in St. Augustine, and this was an old temple, and there was like one, small little men's room. Anyway, long story short, I could have waited, and I didn't. And I went, and it was like, I just thought it was going to be one, but it was two. And the next thing you know, anyway, it turned out to be a big deal. And meaning it was not a pleasant environment I created. Well, it just so happens at the same time, like 3 of the elders come into the bathroom. And they start talking. Now, I'm in there, and they're literally saying, "Elfie, are you in there? This is terrible." And it was like, okay, all right. I'm almost 13. Actually, I may be 13 at this point. But the problem was when I came out, they were still talking about it. And it became part of my bar mitzvah litany or whatever story.
Of course it did.
And it even came up, they didn't, thank God, talk about it on the Bima. But even afterwards, after the bar mitzvah at my damn party, one of the guys was like, yeah, you know why Alfie did such a good job? They told the story. And I was like, God, if you had just held it, if you had just not gone to the bathroom, all would have been well with the world.
And it's so embarrassing at that age.
Oh, it was mortifying. Anyway, now I look back and I laugh on it. I don't know what I learned from that, Phyllis. I hate to tell you, I had no lesson to learn.
Humility.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Or to carry matches with you.
Till the story
was
shows
good.
that, Al set the bathroom on fire, but that's cool.
All right. Now, real life, real quick around the horn. I was thinking about regrets that have shown up in our lives in other unique ways. And I just thought I'd throw a couple of these out. I don't know if you guys have any of these or not. I coached Little League Baseball, and I used to laugh, and now I do umpiring, and I laugh because I hear the coaches doing the same thing. And I'm sure every coach does this, but the situation was, or the topic is, decision regret shows up massively in coaching and Monday morning quarterbacking, in your fantasy football. That's another fun way that decision regret shows up. I should have started so-and-so because so-and-so went off. Thank God, because I don't live in a sports bar, for the Sunday NFL ticket, because it takes decision regret out of the way for which game you're going to watch, because you can watch them all at once. Greatest creation since mankind, I think, for football
Greatest
fans.
creation since mankind.
Huh.
Yeah, the Sunday NFL ticket. Who knew?
Curious if God feels the same way, but okay.
Well, God created the Sunday NFL ticket. Come on.
Duh, Mark.
Okay.
Duh.
I didn't.
Come on.
I didn't
He
have
needs
that
to-
at church on.
He couldn't
Sunday. I didn't
rest
know.
because now football's on 7 days a week.
Oh,
So
no.
he couldn't get all the games in, so he created the Sunday NFL ticket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might get a sponsorship out of that one. Who knows?
From the
Anyway,
NFL
so-
ticket.
Where are
or
we?
at
I'm
church?
so lost as to where we are. What's
I
happening?
am.
Or
I
God.
don't even know where we are.
All right. No, so I just thought I'd throw it out. What if you have any before we get to our tips? I was just thinking about other places in life where decision regret really shows up. Sometimes good, bad, but usually with some level of like humor, and it's after the fact. And that was the Little League Baseball thing. Should I start this kid? I'm trying to please the parents. I don't want to let the kid down. My football team, what your starting lineup, those are fun ways that are different versions of the things we've been talking about. What about you guys? Any others?
You could
no,
be.
I think you've. Oh, go ahead, Phyllis.
No, go.
I'm Robinson frickin' Caruso right now.
I think you are.
No, I just think you named them all. All those things. Like I'm over here laughing. If you were to take another picture, I'm over here laughing because I mean, it's all the silly stuff.
What about your shots, your photos? Like when you go now and like remember your high school senior pictures, or remember you go back and you're like, hey, I want to put together a bunch of
Hey,
pictures
Al?
from my trip, and you got 100 pictures, and you're like, well, I better, yeah.
I think you might be overthinking it a little bit.
Oh. Oh. Why don't you guys lead with the tips so we can get the hell out of here and I'll shut up.
All right, tips.
Mark, are you going?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think the first tip that really comes to mind that helps me with the complexity of decision regret is to understand that you've made the decision and it is time to move forward. And my mother used to always tell me, don't look back, only look forward. So how I get past decision regret personally is just looking forward. I've made the decision. That's in the past. All I can do is keep a focus on what can I get from this? What can I learn from this? And if I need to, how quickly can I change this? But there's no reason to be sad about it. So that's a tip from my mother.
That's a great tip. I'll add to that, Mark, and you said it, we make a million decisions every day. The decision you make about your outfit for the day or dinner or the movie or even your job is one decision in a lifetime of decisions.
Yes. Yes.
And as
That's beautiful.
And as my friend who wanted to hose me off, Maureen, would say, if we could look out, right, after we're not on this earth anymore, and if you were watching the tape of your life in reverse, would you really fret about the daily decisions or even the big decisions that you made?
That is beautiful. It really is, because when you look back at all the things you have to decide in a day, what really matters and what really doesn't matter. And here's another tip that goes with that, because it just came to mind. And I really, if there are decisions that you have the power to make the night before, like what you're going to wear or where you're going to eat or what you're going to have, maybe even make those ahead of time and just stick with the decision, because you've got 6,974 other decisions you're going to have to make that next day. So pick the easy things, get them off your plate. They're really not going to matter. In a week, in a month, in a year, would you even remember you made that decision?
I think that might be a dual mic drop. Both of you. Bam. Dropping the mic.
Well, we're not done yet. You might. Well, what's one of your tips?
No,
I
was not going to. No, I just sucked the oxygen out of the microphones on the other ones. I was going to leave you guys with the mic drop. I didn't want to go last.
Oh, well,
I mean,
do you still could provide a tip if you want? I mean, even though it won't be as good as ours. And then you'll have regret that you didn't put another tip in there, and then that's cool.
Absolutely.
No, I honestly, I really don't have a whole lot to add, because my mom told me, and I speak about this all the time, there's value in everything, the good, the bad, and the sad. It's your job to go out and find it. And as someone who has made plenty of choices and has looked back with regret, I am learning still to this day how to look at it as a positive and shift the mindset. And that's so my tip is what you already said, Phil. What'd you learn, and make it a positive. And I didn't even think about all the numbers. I mean, we're going to put some links in the show about like some of the stuff we talked about. And also I want us to look up, I'd be curious to know, Mark, how many actual decisions do we make in a day? Because I never even thought about the fatigue level. That's brilliant. So that's it.
So I think that this has been a beautiful conversation. I really do, because everybody deals with decision regret. But the thing that we have been talking at the end with these tips, and what I'm pulling from that, is that regret does nothing to enhance your life. It does nothing to make your day better. It makes nothing to make that decision feel good or you feel good about the decision. So what our mothers have told us, what our friends have told us, and what life has told us is do what you need to, make the best decisions that you can with the information that you have, keep moving forward, and let it go. In the grand scheme of things, likely a lot of these decisions are not going to be a big difference in your life or someone else's life. So prioritize those and stop with the regret. It's not going to let you live a day longer.
Man, that's a mic drop.
There you go.
Mark pulls it out. Phil, are you voting on that one?
I'm totally giving it to Mark on that one. He has synthesized the information. His delivery was mellifluous.
Oh, wow. We got mellifluous back in.
We did. And now we're ready to go.
We are ready to go. We are flushing regret, saying goodbye down the potty tubes, not to be seen again. Live a happy life. We, all three of us, hope you are smiling at this moment. We hope you don't regret having listened to all of this show. But if you take Mark's advice, we know that you're not. And anyway, we love you guys, and we are so appreciative to be a part of your life. Thank you for joining us on our ride, wherever you are in this day, time in your life. And remember, one conversation at a time is all you need to find the simplicity. And speaking of which, this is the complexity of toilet paper.
Did you say toilet paper?
Everything complicated. One big medieval mess.
I'm overthinking. I'm over